We tend to view war as a tragic accident, a disastrous amalgamation of poor leadership, power hunger, and terrible timing. However, peace and pacifism operate in a parallel universe to the actual cycle of conflict. The true opposite of active combat is non-war. This is a state of ongoing, armed preparedness that exists long before the first shot is fired. Look at this spectrum. On one side, you have a purely defensive military institution, like Sweden's. On the other, open warfare. But the dominant space in the middle, defined by a standing army that is constantly upgraded and improved, is non-war. Modern societies actively maintain this state of suspended readiness, treating conflict as a managed systemic default rather than an unforeseen disaster. This raises a difficult question. If war is inherently destructive, why does society find the state of non-war so attractive? Analysis from intellectual circles, such as the Utne Reader, suggests war validates our primal desire to prove our strength and reinforces our sense of belonging to a national tribe. More tellingly, this state of high-stakes readiness creates a psychological distance from the crushing weight of mundane life. By focusing on the grand national struggle, we enter a state of suspended animation that masks petty everyday problems like relationship conflicts, debt, employment stress, and social status. We sustain the military machine because it functions as a psychological coping mechanism, allowing us to escape personal realities through the drama of national defense. This psychological escape has a shelf life. When individuals leave the service, they are forced out of that suspended animation and back into the reality they were shielded from. This abrupt return often triggers a profound reintegration crisis as the individual struggles to reconcile the intensity of their military role with the petty problems of civilian life. The results of this broken illusion are visible in the high rates of homelessness, poverty, and drug and alcohol addiction affecting veterans. The human cost is starkly visualized when comparing casualties. In many modern conflicts, more soldiers have taken their own lives than have been killed in action. The psychological escape provided by the war mindset is a fatal trap. It offers a temporary sense of purpose that frequently destroys the individual once the mission ends. This system survives through linguistic framing. Most nations maintain a ministry of defense or war, yet no country possesses a ministry of peace to advocate for the alternative. We reinforce this through cultural myth-making, specifically by withholding the truth about the pain and carnage of armed conflict from the next generation. The mechanical slaughter of 1916 at the Somme should have ended war as a romantic concept, yet the myth of heroic conflict persists. Governments promote the lie that the military-industrial complex generates economic growth. History suggests the opposite. By the end of World War I, combatant economies were entirely on their knees, drained by the massive industrial production meant to sustain them. The state relies on these linguistic, cultural, and economic distortions to maintain the cycle of perpetual readiness. Dismantling this system requires us to stop viewing war as an intractable, natural part of human existence, like the act of breathing or eating. We must strip war of its heroic status, acknowledging it as a process defined by coercion and stupidity. As Osho suggests, there are no true heroes or cowards in these conflicts, only individuals acting out illogical scripts. Recognizing the human tribe as a single entity, where everyone bleeds the same color, nullifies the tribal envy that fuels nationalistic conflict. International peace begins when we forcefully dismantle the romanticized myths that allow us to see other humans as enemies. However, a systemic change is impossible if the individual remains addicted to the escapism of the war mindset. The military-industrial complex thrives on uncritical wage slaves and the envy produced by blind consumerism. Breaking this cycle requires a commitment to individual self-development, physically, spiritually, and psychologically. This shift towards critical thinking points to an internal source of peace that the state cannot manufacture. Ralph Waldo Emerson stated it clearly: "Nobody can bring you peace but yourself." Global peace functions as an active, individual practice of critical thought. By curating peace locally, we withdraw the psychological and economic consent that keeps the machinery of non-war in motion.